Hi everyone, it's Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher. I am back for Flosstube number 4. I'm going to do a little wrap up of my stitching in February. If you have been here before, welcome back. If you are watching for the first time, welcome. I hope you like what you see. So February was a little bit of a lighter stitching month for me compared to what I normally do. I stitched a lot in January, and in February had a couple things going on. I went on vacation, so in the winter, my parents live in Florida, and my husband and I went and visited them. So we were down there for a week, and I actually didn't stitch for, I think, 5 days, which for me is very unusual. I did bring a project with me, and I ended up just not stitching. In the morning, we were enjoying having coffee, like on the patio, and then I was at the pool all day. It just didn't happen, and I think I have to be okay with that sometimes. I did do some knitting while I was in Florida, which I'll show you a little bit later in the video. And then the other thing that's been going on for me is that I got a new job. So if you follow my Instagram, I was participating in Common Threaded Stitcher, and I mentioned that I work remotely. I'm a research director for an agency right now, and I'll be moving over to a financial services company. So there's just been a lot happening there in terms of wrapping up my current job, getting ready to start the new job. I'm very excited, but between the vacation and the job change, it has taken up a lot of my February that would otherwise be used for crafting. So without further ado, I will get into my stuff. Even though it was a lighter month of stitching, I feel like I still have a lot to talk about today. So we're gonna go through FFOs, finishes, a start, 2 whips, some haul. I'm gonna talk a little bit about a market order that I placed and just generally what I'm interested in from market. I'm going to participate in March Madness, so we'll look at my bracket, and I'm starting a new stitch along. I've never started a stitch along before. I've joined them, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. Okay, so first things first, FFOs. I got out my sewing machine and I finished 5.75 things because the 6th one, I ran out of fiberfill and did not close the pillow. So we'll start with the first one you see here. This is Waiting for the Harvest, and it is by Blackbird Designs. It is stitched on 40 count mallow by Zweigart with Cousin It floss from Roxy Floss Co. And I just did a little black backing. I didn't really feel like this needed a very strong print on the back, so I went with the plain black. I'm getting a little bit better at closing my pillows. That one, the black stitching is a little obvious, but I'm thinking I'm gonna get Lady Dot chenille maybe in like a black color for this one. I feel like that would be a nice little, give it like a gleam, nice finish. That's my first one. Okay, the next one is Fall into Autumn by Jeanette Douglas Designs. I stitched this on 40 count antique lace by Seraphim, and I finished it just like a little fun orange and cream fall print on the back. And I think for this series, I don't know if I'll do all 4, but for the ones that I do, I'm thinking about doing some twill tape on the edges just to kind of add a little something. For this one, I'm thinking maybe a mossy green color. That's Fall into Autumn. As I said, I'm not sure if I'll do all 4, but I really do like, I think it's Jump into Spring. I like that one a lot, so maybe at some point I'll do that one. My third one is my All You Need Is Love, which is a freebie from the Drawn Thread. This was stitched with stash colors on, I'm trying to remember, 36 count Earthen by Picture This Plus, and I used a little bit of Rifle Paper Company fabric at the bottom and then the back. I'm honestly not sure what this fabric line is, but I really liked the green back just to pull out the green from the vines. So that is All You Need Is Love. For this one, I'm thinking a little bit of red rickrack across the middle. I saw Elizabeth Ann Stitch did a really similar Valentine's freebie, not this one, and she did finish it in this way. That's where I got this idea, and I think I'm also going to steal the red rickrack idea because I like that. The remaining 3 FFOs are all Seasons of the Heart by With Thy Needle and Thread. So in front of me I have spring, summer, and winter. I have yet to do fall. I'll start with winter just because that one is not done. But here is what the pillow form will look like. Again, this is a Rifle Paper Company fabric, and I liked the tan just because I felt like it was like a nice neutral winter color. I don't really do strong reds and greens for winter. As soon as I get some more fiberfill, I will get this sewn up. I usually do a combination of fiberfill, like I'll stuff the corners with fiberfill and then do a bunch of ground walnut shells, and then I add more fiberfill to finish stuffing it. And that way they have, you know, a little bit of heft to them, but still fills out the corners. So that is Seasons of the Heart winter. We'll work backwards in the seasons. This is Seasons of the Heart summer. And I should have said for winter, that was stitched on 40 count papyrus by Color and Cotton. This is also stitched on 40 count papyrus by Color and Cotton. I think this came out really cute. Here's the backing. I got that fabric from Hobby Lobby, just like Fabrics by the Yard in that section. And then I got this tan rickrack, and I'm planning to use the tan on all 4 Seasons of the Heart patterns. I think this one's so pretty. And then last but not least, I have a Start Finish FFO all in the month of February. This was my winter cross stitch camp piece. This is Seasons of the Heart spring. I love this one. I think this has probably been my favorite season to stitch so far. This one is not stitched on 40 count papyrus. I did like a thread, toss. I forget what you call that. I compared the threads against the fabric, and the color of the house is Weeks Dye Works Sandcastle, which to me just wasn't standing out against the 40 count papyrus. So this is 40 count Old Stationery by Seraphim. And again, I have a Rifle Paper Company fabric. I really like their fabric, and a couple years ago maybe I bought like a fat quarter bundle of Rifle Paper fabrics, and since I don't do a ton of my own personal project bag sewing, I thought that this was the perfect opportunity to use some of these fabrics. Love the border on this one. So pretty. So those are my almost 6 FFOs, and I may show Fall into Autumn or All You Need Is Love, Waiting for the Harvest quickly in a future video if I end up doing some kind of additional trim on them. Otherwise, I look forward to doing Seasons of the Heart Autumn. I don't know when, maybe probably this summer. I feel like I usually start getting the itch to stitch fall in like mid to late July. So we'll see. Then moving on, I have a finish, a typical FO, and it is Pink Sparrow Sampler. I stitched on this one so much in February. Of the stitching that I did do, this was really where most of my time went. It's so beautiful. So again, this is Pink Sparrow Sampler by With Thy Needle and Thread. This was stitched on 40 count Vanilla Latte by Stitch Me. And I used almost all of the called for threads, with the exception of I swapped out Grape Arbor, I think by Gentle Arts, and I put in a Roxy Flossco purple. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but if you are interested, let me know and I will check for you. So I loved stitching this. I mean, I'm gonna show it to you again because I like it so much. In a shocking turn of events, I did already order a frame for this. So my intention was to show it to you framed. The frame is coming, I think, Friday. Today's Wednesday. And I wanted to film, so you will have to wait until next month to see it. And because the frame couldn't travel by itself, I will also be receiving a frame for Winter Rose Manor. So in my March wrap-up video, you will see both Pink Sparrow sampler and Winter Rose Manor framed. Probably. Again, never any promises. So those are my FFOs and my finish. And I did have one new start this month. That start is in this bag, Sheba Designs. I always forget who did which bag that I own. This did have a kitted up version of Redbird Sampler by With Thy Needle and Thread, but I'm constantly rekitting, unkitting, moving things around. I like for my project bags that I've ordered off of Etsy to be in use if possible. I don't have that many of them. I think I have less than 10, and so I want them to be out and not in my closet if possible. So like right here is my basket of whips, and they are almost all in this sort of project bag. Okay, what did I actually start that's in this bag? It's a restart. It's Sally Spencer. I want to correct from the last video. I mentioned that 1884 Stitchery would be reprinting this and other Birds of a Feather charts. That's not the case. So I will be stitching off of my original copy that I purchased on eBay, but I did restart this one. If you watched my whip parade, you may have seen that I started this originally on 36 count Picture This Plus Ren. I thought it was a little bit too light based on what the picture looks like in the chart, on the front of the chart, and I just didn't love stitching on the 36. So I restarted this on 40 count Samplery by Color and Cotton with the colored 4 threads. I of course have a hanging thread. I think I've stitched a little bit under a quarter of this. The top left corner took me the better part of a week, I would say. So cute. I really like stitching these letters because every time I finish one, it feels okay, you know, to stitch a letter or two, put it down, stitch a letter or two, put it down. And you will see that this is going to be coming back out in March because I will be putting it in my bracket. One more look at Sally Spencer. Okay. That was my only start for the month, other than Seasons of the Heartstring, which I started and finished. Aside from that, I only had 2 other whips. So I only worked on a total of 4 things this month, which for some people that's probably very typical. For me, it's probably on the low side, but I really enjoyed just focusing on the things that I did work on. So first one I'm going to show you is Consider the Lilies, and I passed the 50% mark. I'm so excited. I love how it's turning out. So since you last saw this, I need to back up. Consider the Lilies by Heartstring Samplery, stitched with the called 4 threads on 40 count vintage straw flower by Lakeside Linens. Since you last saw this, I stitched almost the entire tree. I stitched Eve, and I did the leaf motif above the tree as well as my initials. I finished the second half of the pink flower motif above that. I added a couple border flowers and this, I don't think it's a butterfly, moth. So I did quite a bit of stitching on this in the month of February. It was not only a Sunday stitch for me in February. I want to be clear, I did not stitch that entire tree and multiple motifs and border flowers in 3 or 4 Sundays. I took it out more than that. I did give this a light iron today in honor of passing the 50% mark, and I am very motivated to finish it this year. As you will see, I did not put 2023 in the center motif yet because there's one thing to have confidence, but I don't want to assume. You never know what will happen. I think what I'm going to do with this one next is, I don't know if I'll finish the border, but I think I want to do the framework of the border. So like the primary vine, just to make sure it closes correctly. And then I think I'll bring across the center phrase, the Consider the Lilies phrase, to the far right side. And then from there I can fill in the remaining motifs, and then I'll be done in like 2 seconds. I just want to keep holding it up because I love it so much, but also my upper body strength is failing. Okay, so that was Consider the Lilies. And the last WIP I worked on this month was Summer Refreshes by Summer House Stitchworks. This one will also be showing up in my March Madness. Here are the colors. I stitched this one with the called for DMC. This is on 36 count Colonial Parchment by Stephanie. I need something to hold behind it. It is still in the hoop because you can see everything that I've stitched thus far. This was my morning piece for a minute, but I kind of got tired of doing that after 3 to 5 days. And so I really only finished this blue band and then started in the green band. There's, I think, 4 or 5 more bands to the right of the green band. And it is really pretty though. I do want to get it done, which is why it's in my bracket. All right. Those are my WIPs. Haul. I thought I didn't go crazy this month with haul, but then I remembered that one of my purchases was very big. So the only thing I have to show you in front of me is my Color and Cotton Fabric of the Month, which is 40 count, sorry about the crinkling, Love Letter. It's a very, very pale neutral pink. I really like her new tags that she's doing. Her fabric is, her fabric itself is always amazing, but her packaging has continued to evolve over the little less than 2 years that I've been in her fabric club. And I just think she does a really nice job. The other 2 things I don't have to show you. One of them is that Hello from Liz Matthews has started a Patreon, and I signed up for it. I signed up for her 2nd level, which I think is called Pattern Stashers, and it entitles you to some posts on the Patreon, some previews, and 1 pattern-ish per month. I'll put a picture of the February pattern up here. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but it was a Valentine's Day centric pattern. So pretty. I have it downloaded and I'm sure I'll stitch it at some point. I really like what she's done so far. She just released the March one this morning, and I don't think I'll have it here to show you, but I'll share it in the next month if you're interested in seeing what what the picture of the pattern is. Of course, not the pattern itself. So that was one. And then the other thing is that I did end up ordering the 2023 Evertote Roxy Floss Co. Modern Folk Embroidery Holiday Countdown. I had extreme jealousy last December watching everyone open their thread every day and put together their pattern. So even though it's February and I don't even want to think about Christmas for 9 months, I did place the order for that. I ended up getting the 40 count linen full kit. Really excited for that in 10 months. And I think that's everything that I had ordered this month until I ordered the frames for Pink Sparrow and Winter Rose Manor. You'll see those when they come. And I did place a market pre-order, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is my market picks. So again, these are all going to be shown to you in the right side of left side. I don't know what you're going to be seeing of the screen because I don't have any of them yet. So I've only ordered 2 patterns, which is honestly shocking to me, but I figure there's always time to order more. They're not going anywhere. I need to not press the panic button. The first thing I ordered was Blackbird Designs, Birds of a Feather, because I had no chill when it came to this piece, and I will be kitting it up the second that I get it and starting it. If anybody wants to stitch that along with me, let me know. And then the other one that I ordered already is Pansy Patch Quilts and Stitching. I think that's how her name is. And I ordered the Summer Basket. I didn't realize this was the 4th of the seasons that was released. So all 3 previous baskets are already out. I've only ordered the summer one to start with because chances are I won't start this until later in the spring. Or is it spring basket that I ordered? Either way, whatever I ordered, I won't start it right away, and I can always get the other seasons later. And I told myself I have to finish Seasons of the Heart with Thy Needle and Thread, Seasons of the Heart, Blue Flower. The other top 3 things that are sort of on my radar, there are many things on my radar, but these are the other top ones, are Teresa Kogut, Remember Me. Super pretty, but I need another big piece, like I need a hole in the head, so I'll probably wait on that for a little bit. 1897 Schoolhouse Samplers, Sarah Alden. Again, enormous, even bigger than the previous one. And then Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread, Every Opening Flower. Gorgeous. I feel like it would look beautiful next to Winter Rose Manor, or to alternate out with Winter Rose Manor in the spring summer seasons. Again, I'm gonna hold off, but those are my primary picks for market. And what's next? March Madness. I'm going to, it's March 1st. I am participating in March Madness along with the Steel City Stitchers. So they have a hashtag, I will put it here because I do not remember what it is right now, but they are doing a bracket challenge. I think they've done it for perhaps 2 or 3 years now, where you have 8 pieces, you work your way down to 1, and then the goal is to finish that piece in March. I can also link their video below that describes how to participate in the March Madness bracket, because they explain it in a much more coherent way than my 20-second explanation. But I did want to tell you what I'm going to be doing. So my bracket's going to be up in the corner, and what I will be working on today. Actually, let me explain how I'm going to do this, because this will take up the majority of my March stitching. However, I want to keep working on Consider the Lilies. So if my dates look strange in my bracket, it's because I'm skipping Sundays so that I can work on Consider the Lilies on Sundays. So day 1, I will be working on There's a Priscilla Dawes, and that will be up against Summer Refreshes on day 2, March 1st and 2nd. I'll then have my voting on Instagram of what will move forward. Day 3, I will be working on My Early Days by Plum Street Samplers, and that will be up against My Home in the Garden by Hello from Liz Matthews. Again, the winner will move on. March 6th and March 7th, so again, we're putting a Sunday in there. I'll be working on Sally Spencer, and then I'm bringing Midnight Watch back into the rotation. I really like to see a finish on that one before fall. I'd like to have it up for fall, so I thought I'd toss it into the ring and see how it does. And then March 8th and 9th will be Rejoice Evermore by With Thy Needle and Thread and Moonlight Sampler by The Blue Flower. So we will see what moves on. I'm not going to take out all 8 projects. They were all in my whip parade, and almost all of them were in Flosstube number 3. I can link that below. So if you want to see all 8 of those pieces, the only ones you would have seen today were Sally Spencer and Summer Refreshes. So I'll link that below. But I'm very excited to participate in that. The other thing that will slightly change my schedule for the March Madness bracket is the fact that I have a new start planned for March 20th. It's going to be a solstice start, and this is my first stitch along that I'm going to host along with Cross Stitch Kate and Jessica at Sweetwater Stitcher. So what is it? What are we stitching? I decided along with Caitlin and Jessica to start the Plum Street Samplers seasonal salt boxes. I have all 4 of them here: spring, summer, autumn, winter. And for the next 4 solstice days, I will start the appropriate season. And the intention, who knows what will happen, is to finish the 2 salt boxes in the season prior to the next solstice. So theoretically, over the course of a year, you would finish the entire piece. And I really do hope to finish it. They're not huge, and if I do about one house every 6 weeks, I should be able to get it done. So here are the spring salt boxes. I can take them out, hopefully with minimal crinkling. Here are the spring salt boxes. And here are the colors for spring. So pretty. And the way that I'm going to do this is to do them side by side for the season and then down in a row of 4. So 2 by 4. And I don't feel like I need to stitch the amount of white that is on these patterns. So I was actually just talking to Jessica about this, and I think I'm not sure, Caitlin, you tell us what you're going to do. I don't think I'm going to stitch the whole bottom white. I think I'll do like a 1 or 2 stitch white border around each house, and then a little gap between the houses, and then a gap to the next row. So I'm really excited to start this one. I originally saw this a couple summers ago on Mama Loves You GB. It was like one of her early videos. She had started working on it, and I got them. I've had them sitting around, and I decided I really want to start something that feels very like I can do it in manageable chunks. So if you saw my Whip Parade, you might have seen that I stitched the Sing a Sampler series by Silver Creek Samplers. And that's the same sort of thing where there's 2 boxes per chart, 4 charts, and I was really able to do a box every few weeks and get those mini finishes pretty quickly. So that's my SAL, and we are going to be using a hashtag on Instagram. I will put it here. I believe we decided on Saltbox Solstice SAL. So if you would like to stitch, please let one of us, all of us know, and definitely check the hashtag, post on the hashtag, do all the things. Okay, that is all of the stitching portion of the video. I'm going to pause. I do have a little bit of knitting, like a knitting finish, a start, and actually a little bit of knitting haul. And then depending on how long I've been talking for, I may include my watching, listening, reading section, TBD. Back for knitting. The first thing I'll talk about is my knitting finish. So you would have seen this in my previous video. It's kind of hard to show knitting, especially in this light. But this is the Free for All Cowl by Webster Street Knittery. I've already blocked it and worn it a number of times, so it's not looking the most perfect here, but also it's covered in dog hair. But I think it came out really well. I enjoyed it a lot. I did like the I-cord edge for the first time. I'm a new knitter, and I've liked it a lot. I might make another one of these, maybe for my husband. This was supposed to be for him, and guess who's the only person that has worn it. Once I finished that, I wound my yarn for the Shift Cowl by Drea Renee Knits, which I'll put a picture of the finished cowl up here. And I'm going to insert my haul now, because the reason I was able to wind my own yarn was because I bought a Yarn Swift and a ball winder. These are the Knit Picks Yarn Swift and ball winder set. I asked Shiloh X Stitch MD for a recommendation, and this is what she said she uses, and I certainly trust her knitting recommendations, so that's what I got. And I got a little start on the Shift Cowl. So it's a little bit difficult to see. It's pretty small still, but that's my start. I did put this down a week and a half ago because I realized that I stitched a couple rows with the wrong color, and I've been too lazy to rip it out. So this is what I did while I was in Florida, was this little baby section in the, 20-30 minutes a morning where I was drinking coffee with my parents. And once I stop being lazy, I will rip out the rows that are wrong and keep going, because it's actually a very easy knit if I had been paying attention to what I was doing. That's my knitting section. Okay, so that brings me to my last section, which is watching, reading, listening. Watching, pretty much just Flosstube. Still watching The Last of Us, and actually a couple cooking shows have come on recently that my husband and I like to watch. So Next Level Chef, that started after the Super Bowl, and then Food Network Tournament of Champions started a couple weeks ago. And actually, we do watch The Mandalorian, and that started today. I'm pretty sure my husband already watched it this morning before he went to work, but I'll catch up later. In terms of what I have been listening to, I like I said, I listen to a ton of podcasts, so it would be hard to list them all, but I'll highlight maybe one each month. This month I will talk about Gee Thanks Just Bought It, which is exactly like it sounds. It is very loosely, I would call it a shopping podcast. The host, Caroline, previously had a different guest host each week. Now she has a co-host, and generally each episode has a cadence where each of them brings a product or a service or a recommendation that they talk about. And then also there's just like a lot of back and forth and conversation. They are hilarious. Caroline and her co-host Sally, their rapport is just really funny to listen to. They had a recent 2 weeks ago, maybe, their episode was about credit card points and using credit card points to pay for vacations. And it was interesting, but it was also just really funny. And I highly recommend listening to it, and also listening to the back episodes. So I went back and listened to a lot of her pre-COVID and, during COVID, well, the thick of COVID episodes. And there's some really good stuff in there as well. Actually, there is an enormous book that I bought because of the podcast that is just about cleaning your house, which sounds very strange, but if you are at all interested in the book, let me know, because it was right up my alley and maybe you'd be interested too. And what am I reading? What have I been reading? I was on vacation, so I did read a couple of books. This month I started Priory of the Orange Tree. I think that's what it's called. I'll put a picture of it here, which was a recommendation from Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. I have not even close to finished it. It's like a 1,000 page book. So I did set that down when I went on vacation. I need to get back to it. While I was on vacation, I read Station 11. So good. That is by Emily St. John Mandel. She also wrote The Sea of Tranquility, which was fantastic. Station 11 is about a post-pandemic world in which this woman in her late 20s is traveling with a band of musicians because civilization as we know it does not exist, and she is reflecting on, how the world got to this point, what happened with the pandemic, and also just learning about both her past and her connection to this point in time prior to the pandemic. I don't want to tell you too much about it, but if you like anything in that dystopian genre, I think you will like Station 11. It was also turned into an HBO show, which it was a mini series that came out maybe 2 years ago, and I do intend to watch that. And I almost finished Lessons in Chemistry, which I'll put a picture of that here. I'm not quite done yet, but I think despite only being 80% finished, I can confidently say is so good. It's so funny. I was reading it by the pool in Florida, and there were multiple parts where I was laughing out loud at the pool. It's really well written. I honestly can't believe that it's her first book. It's a wonderful debut. And then last, I listened to an audiobook. I think I said before, I am typically not an audiobook listener, but I gave it a go because I really wanted to do something while I was stitching that wasn't, I love Flosstube, don't get me wrong, but I was watching like hours upon hours upon hours of Flosstube every week, and I needed to consume a different form of media. So I downloaded The It Girl by Ruth Ware, and I don't always love her books. They're like your typical thriller genre, but this one was really good, I thought. It's about a woman who, when she was in university at Oxford, her roommate was murdered, and 10 years later, the convicted killer dies in prison, but the woman, the narrator, starts to question whether or not he was guilty and look into her friend's death more. That's all I'll say. but I liked it. I'm kind of a stingy star giver on Goodreads, and I did end up giving it 4 stars. Station 11 got 5. Lessons in Chemistry is going to get 5. They were that good. So that's all. That's everything I have for you today. I honestly have no idea how long this video is, because you're going to see that there's about 10 different clips where I broke off in the middle of a sentence and needed to start again. But what do I want you to take away from this episode? I would love for anyone to vote on my March Madness bracket on Instagram. I'm also New Hampshire Stitcher on Instagram. And if you have any interest in stitching the Plum Street Samplers salt boxes, please join the sale. Would love for you to stitch along with everybody that decides to do it. And other than that, I hope you have a wonderful March. I hope that all of your market dreams come true. And I will see everyone, I think, on April 1st. Have a good day. Bye.